A controversial appointment in troubled times as the constitutional crisis in Rivers State deepens. Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas, retired, has assumed office as the sole administrator of Rivers State following President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on March 18, 2025. His appointment, intended to restore order in the politically volatile state, has sparked widespread controversy and raised questions about his role in the unfolding crisis. A former chief of naval staff, Ibas brings a military background to the position, but his ties to key political figures and his lack of civilian governance experience have drawn sharp criticism from the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, civil society groups, and opposition parties. This article delves into the latest developments surrounding Ibas's appointment, his connections to the crisis, and the implications of his leadership for Rivers State and Nigeria's democracy. As the state grapples with political instability, economic disruption, and growing public unrest, Ibas's actions in the coming days will be closely scrutinized. Will he act as a neutral arbiter to restore stability, or will his administration further entrench the federal government's controversial agenda? Ibas's appointment, a strategic move or a political gamble? Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas, ES, appointment as sole administrator of Rivers State, has been met with mixed reactions. Supporters of President Tinubu argue that Ibas's military background makes him uniquely qualified to restore order in a state plagued by political violence and pipeline vandalism. As a former chief of naval staff, Ibas is seen as a disciplined and experienced leader who can navigate the complexities of the crisis. However, critics view his appointment as a politically motivated move designed to consolidate federal control over Rivers State, a stronghold of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. Ibas's close ties to the Tinubu administration have raised concerns about his impartiality, with many questioning whether he will prioritize the interests of the federal government over those of the people of Rivers State. The NBA has condemned the appointment, describing it as an unconstitutional imposition of military rule on a democratically elected government. Ibas's first actions as sole administrator have done little to assuage these concerns. Shortly after assuming office, he announced the suspension of all political activities in the state and deployed military personnel to key government buildings. While these measures were framed as necessary to restore order, they have been criticized as heavy-handed and undemocratic. Opposition leaders have accused Ibas of acting as a puppet of the federal government, warning that his administration could further destabilize the state. Connections to the crisis, Ibas, and the power struggle in Rivers State. Vice Admiral Ibas's appointment cannot be understood in isolation from the broader power struggle in Rivers State. The crisis began with a bitter feud between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, who now serves as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. Wike, a powerful figure in the PDP, has been accused of orchestrating the political turmoil to undermine Fubara's administration and regain control of the state. Ibas's connections to Wike have raised eyebrows, with some suggesting that his appointment was influenced by the former governor. During his tenure as Chief of Naval Staff, Ibas worked closely with Wike on security matters in Rivers State, and the two are said to share a cordial relationship. Critics argue that Ibas's appointment is part of a broader strategy to weaken Fubara and strengthen Wike's influence in the state. The NBA has called for an independent investigation into Ibas's appointment, citing concerns about potential conflicts of interest. The association has also urged the National Assembly to scrutinize the role of key political figures in the crisis, warning that the situation in Rivers State could set a dangerous precedent for federal interference in state politics. Implications for Rivers State and Nigeria's democracy. The appointment of Vice Admiral Ibas as sole administrator has far-reaching implications for Rivers State and Nigeria's democracy. On the one hand, his military background could help restore order in a state that has been rocked by political violence and economic disruption. On the other hand, his lack of civilian governance experience and perceived political bias have raised concerns about his ability to lead effectively. The economic impact of the crisis is already being felt, with oil production in Rivers State, a key driver of Nigeria's economy, reportedly declining due to pipeline vandalism and political instability. If the crisis is not resolved soon, it could have ripple effects on the national economy, further exacerbating the country's already precarious financial situation. The international community is also closely watching the situation. The United Nations, African Union, and European Union have issued statements calling for a peaceful resolution to the crisis and urging Nigeria to uphold democratic principles. Foreign investors are growing increasingly wary, with some considering pulling out of Nigeria due to the heightened political risk. What lies ahead? A test of leadership and democracy as Vice Admiral Ibas begins his tenure as sole administrator. The eyes of the nation are on Rivers State. His ability to navigate the complex political landscape and restore stability will be a test of his leadership and a reflection of Nigeria's commitment to democracy. However, his actions in the coming days will also shape the trajectory of the crisis and determine whether Rivers State can emerge from this turmoil stronger or more divided. The judiciary's role will be critical in resolving the crisis, with legal challenges to the emergency declaration and Ibas's appointment expected to reach the Supreme Court. The NBA has vowed to continue its fight for constitutional governance, warning that any attempt to undermine democracy in Rivers State will have dire consequences for Nigeria as a whole. As the nation watches and waits, one thing is clear: the next few days will be pivotal in determining the future of Rivers State and Nigeria's democracy. Will Vice Admiral Ibas rise to the occasion and act as a neutral arbiter, or will his administration further entrench the federal government's controversial agenda? The answers to these questions will shape the legacy of his leadership and the fate of a nation at a crossroads.